Hello and welcome. My name is Svetlana Stone. You are watching Artist Voices, where we believe it's essential for artist voices to be heard. And we are pleased to have Jim Kraus here at Public Media Network to learn about what does it take to be a musician in the 21st century. Thank you for being with us. And Jim, we are pleased to have you. And I cannot wait to learn what does it take to be a musician in the 21st century. So can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
First of all, it's different for everybody. So there are musicians who are performing on instruments, and they have to have a totally different approach constantly if they're playing in a symphony or in a band or whatever. I'm a church musician first. So there are several things that I do. I also teach in the community college, and so I have different elements to that. So let's see. The first thing I'd say is I have an undergraduate in piano performance, and then I have a master's degree in early music voice and also piano performance and kind of some choral conducting. I have a church music degree also, so I have too much schooling, but it's good for me.
So what school did you go for those degrees?
For my undergraduate, I was at Asbury University, and then I went to University of Maryland for 2 or 3 years, and then finished at the University of South Florida. So I was all over the country. And then I went back to Asbury Seminary for my it was actually considered a choral church music degree, and they have names for all these things that sound different. But so within that concept, the 21st century, I think you have to be as versatile as possible.
But how you become a musician? You said you're a church musician, so
Well,
could you tell our viewers how you become a musician? What brought you?
How did I start
Or
all this?
inspire how you started? Yeah.
Well, like many musicians, I started piano lessons when I was around 6, and I studied with an older woman.
Is that because you wanted or your parents brought you in?
A little bit of both.
Both.
And the woman that I studied with was actually more accomplished than I realized to appreciate when I was a kid. But she helped just me develop as a pianist, but also as a musician. And she taught theory. That's one of the things that a lot of times you don't get when you're doing private lessons. And she helped me. She came from an earlier era when they called it harmony. And she said, when you go to college, if you can do anything else other than music, do it. But if you just can't stay away from it, then the first thing they're going to make you do is take harmony, which we call music theory now. And she says, so you're going to know a lot of this before you get into it. So it was true. I was able to understand music theory, which is kind of like music schools use it like medical schools do with biology to help see if a student's going to make it. And
It's a great comparison.
And I enjoy music theory and I enjoy music history a lot. And I thought I really would enjoy teaching music history, but I ended up really enjoying teaching music theory the most because it's helpful to just help students realize the tools that they're working with. So when I got into my college era years, I was playing a lot more, and I moved on to work on a master's degree. And as I was doing piano, I started singing, and I studied as a countertenor, which is a early music voice usually in the Baroque period, Renaissance. And I got to sing at the Washington Cathedral for a year, and then another parish church choir, and had a lot of experiences singing. It was really fun. I enjoyed that a lot. And when I was at the University of South Florida, I sang again as a soloist, but also with the choirs at the school and in the area. And I started working as a church music director then. Up to then, I had been in church work mostly as a pianist and an organist. And I started realizing, there are big holidays, especially in churches, Christmas and Easter, and you usually want special music or programs that are going to be bigger about that. So you start having to develop how big of a production do you want, and that's something that most people, especially in church music, don't realize how big they can be. When I was growing up, my home church, our choir director, she would direct from a piano, sitting in front of the choir, and the choir would stand in front of her, and that would be they'd do a program. I started realizing that if I did that, my choir wasn't watching me the same, and I wasn't getting good choral sound. So I wanted to stand and move my arms so the choir would follow me. So I orchestrated my accompaniments. And so that meant I had to start bringing in instrumentalists. And it just developed more and more. So as I was doing that, I started thinking, well, I better start writing more for this. So that's when I started composing more. And so having all that background for me worked out so I can do all these things. I'm not an expert. I don't consider myself an but it's something that I enjoy and I'm able to do and enjoy it.
And I know you said you start doing productions at the church, and also start collaborate with other musicians, because you wanna have nice music for your choir. So how do you think what you are doing? Have you ever think that by doing that you really not only doing a great job for the community, which you show them your original pieces, which I witnessed. It was a few years ago, was the Christmas production.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing. But you also bring in those musicians. You basically collaborate with all like, I don't know, Michigan area, because you're from St.Joseph.
I'm the minister of music at the St.Joseph First
Yes.
United Methodist Church.
So, but do you realize it that doing that, you like support the musicians, and you also like bring something beautiful to the community?
Thank you. That's kind. But it kind of all is this. It works together, and I've been at this church for 30 years now, and so that's something I
Wow.
can build on. Yeah, and so there have been some of the musicians that play for me now that played for me my first year, and so I've enjoyed working with them. We've built a good rapport. I have a strong sense. Bach is one of my heroes, Johann Sebastian Bach, and one of the things is how he said we need to have quality church music to glorify God the best we can. And I picked that up, and that's what I try to do first. So every week I have special music times in my service that and now we have both a traditional and a contemporary service. And so the traditional service, I work with more traditional musicians. The contemporary service is with a band. And when you were saying, how are you a musician in the 21st century? Part of that is I have to be flexible to be able to work with both groups. And
what do you think it's take to be a musician in the 21st century?
Well, yeah, and I enjoy it, but there are other musician friends of mine who are not. And they're like, I do not know how you can
be flexible.
Do some of that you do. But I do enjoy it. I enjoy working with people who have any musical gift.
But can you tell us
interest.
more about that? Because you said some of the musicians they cannot do, and you're more flexible.
What do
you mean by that?
Well, just that for some, they want to stay. They want to stay in one group or the other. They either want to be doing traditional only, or they want to do contemporary only. They don't see that how one can help the other, and there's times when I'll do a blended service and I mix them both. And when I was doing church music early on, I tried to please everybody, and it made me miserable, and everybody's kind of like, eh. And it hit me, I'm not doing what I know how to do. So I stopped trying to please everybody, and I thought, I'm going to work with the people, and we're going to just offer our gifts to God and let him lead
It's
us.
amazing, yeah.
And so it just changed things. And the what I tell so I'm going to jump back. When I look at musicians to help me with special music each week, sometimes my choir sings during the regular church year, which follows the school year, and then the summer it's free. But I have offer times for people to come help me with special music, and some are from the church, some are from the community. And several times over the years, I've had people that have played, and they said, my church won't let me play. They're like, they either do only traditional, or the only contemporary. And so I'm a concert violinist, so I can't play at church. And I'm like, well, come on over here.
That's amazing, yeah.
And what I've told my congregation is, we're blessing each other here, and we're blessing the Lord, because you're giving this person who has this great talent an opportunity to offer their gift to the Lord and to you. And in turn, by your appreciation, that you're able to enjoy and experience a higher level. And so it just kind of works together. So as I've done those pieces with people through the years, then for the bigger programs, I just ask any of the ones I've worked with, if those instruments are ones that I need, they come. And so it's
kind of like diversity. That's a very popular term right now. Bring diversity everywhere. So, but at church, people for some reason tend to stick to this or to this style. And what you're doing, as I understand, you bring everyone gifts from different backgrounds to.
But we do have two venues to be able to offer two styles, which helps me with the breadth of it. And there are some churches that don't want that, which is fine. I mean, if they've got the ability and the group to produce and do some in either traditional or contemporary style, go for it. And stay in the one track, great. But for me, it works to be able to get to do it all.
Yeah, that's amazing. I noticed that you bring different people, different background, different skills, and they all, basically what is common, we all have one goal as a musician, using our talents and praise the Lord.
Yes. And I'm very blessed at the church where I'm at to have beautiful instruments at my disposal. We have a Casavant that was rebuilt. And so it's beautiful. I have a lovely concert. Well, it's not full concert grand, but a big Schimmel piano and a harpsichord, which not many churches have. And then with the band, most of the guys have their own, and the people have their own instruments and stuff. We have a drum set, but we're able to just make good music partly because we have good instruments. And then the acoustics in the sanctuary are really nice too, as you know.
And what would be a piece of advice you would give it maybe to the churches or to the musicians in terms of like what you said, we are all have different gifts, but we have one goal. So if there's any advices you would give it to the musicians or to the people who leading the worship services?
Well,
or maybe share with the experience that you wish.
First of all, it takes money, and everybody knows that. It's just no one likes that. But we created a music fund when I started, and people have been able to give to that, and it helps produce some of to cover and support the programs that we do, so that we can offer what we do.
And what do you think is it important to support and create the fund for music?
Why is it?
Why do you think it's important?
Well, because if you're tied to just what can be put in a budget, it limits a lot of the way you can approach things, because it's a set amount. But if you've got this other fund that's flexible, that allows you to have a little more leeway to do what you want and what you need to. Because the hard thing is, there's times when any church or any organization goes through ups and downs as far as the participants or the different levels of people. And if you want to keep it at a certain level, then you need to encourage others to come help. And I found that to be helpful. I don't know if that makes sense what I'm saying, but and then the other piece for me, now this kind of separates another piece of, I'm back to your, what does it mean to be a 21st century musician? Which is just funny to me to be thinking, so I love playing the organ. I love playing the piano. That's where I really started. I love singing. I love early music. I love Bach, Handel, Vivaldi. I love opera. I love jazz. My kids keep me young. I like rock. What they don't even call it rock anymore. But I enjoy all these colors of music and different things. But I want them done well. And I want Robert Shaw. This is a choral thing. Robert Shaw said years ago, "No one wants to hear a choir sing out of tune," and that's just a good standard to start with. Get the choir in tune, and then it just goes from there. No one wants to hear. They want to hear people doing their best that they can, and that's what I try and bring out of whoever I'm working with. So one of the things that happens for me is I run into people that are. We want to do something in a worship service or even in a special setting, and we can't find the right piece. And that's where the one piece for me that's really been enjoyable is to be able to write my own stuff. So I've had a cellist friend, about 10 years ago now. We decided to start collaborating, and I wrote a cello suite with him, and we performed it together on a couple concerts, and it's gone really well. It's a beautiful, I think it's a beautiful piece, and it seems to have a nice reaction from the audience. And I've written several other pieces for other solo instruments, and then a few cantatas and pieces for the choir, and then I'll write orchestra things too. So that's a big outlet for me also. And it's I'm blessed to have the opportunity to put together ensembles that perform and do what I'm doing, what I've written.
And how people can find your music so they can to listen or the productions that you are doing, what's the website? The website of some. There's something. I think you announced about the production and the music that you're playing. It's on the church website, right?
Yeah, usually the church website will have.
What's the? Can you share it with us?
I think it's stjoefirst.umc.org or .net or. So if you Google St. Joseph First United Methodist Church, St. Joseph, Michigan, it'll come up.
So people can find the information about future productions or events that's going on.
Yes, and so it's interesting. What I try and do. A few years ago, we had a whole organ concert series, and organists in the area, we got together and we played at each other's churches and invited people to ours, and so it gave us a good chance for in the community to go around to each church and to kind of support and encourage each other in their music. And then that kind of ended first only because people moved away. And then, so I've tried to do several kinds of concerts also still at the church. And so I'll have a complete organ concert still, or I'll have a jazz concert, or my cello friend, and it just it goes. We even had the Korean
That's
embassy
amazing.
from Chicago was celebrating an anniversary, and they sent a group over, and they did a beautiful program. So it's just fun to be able to get to work with all these people. It's that for me, that's one of the most enjoyable things. And then on top of that, I work with Dave Carew, who's the choir choral head of choral activities at Southwest Michigan College. And he and I also I co-work with him on the chorus for the Southwest Michigan Symphony. And so I've helped him get several things prepared, and then we've also been able to take trips and create a group from the group people we've worked with called the Southwest Michigan Chorale, and we've taken trips to Ireland and Italy and Budapest, Vienna, Prague, and we're getting ready to go to Paris next year for a big trip. And so it should be wonderful. And again, I get to work with great people, and we get to do some wonderful things.
So thank you so much for being with us today. Is there anything else you would like to add, something that you may want to mention, and we just didn't talk about this?
It's all good.
It's all good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. We appreciate you coming and share with us your stories.
Gladly.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Well, this concludes this episode of Artist Voices. We are grateful to Jim for coming here and sharing his stories. And we appreciate everything that he shared with us here at Public Media Network, where we believe it's essential for artist voices to be heard. And thank you again for being with us.